She was putting smiles on faces on the sidelines of the NFL, and now she's putting smiles on the faces in her community and beyond. I am Anita Slaughter, and this is Foundation Fridays on Sideline Rewind. I am thrilled to be sitting down with Miss Kim Downey to hear all about her foundation. So, Kim, welcome and thank you so much for being on this episode of Foundation Fridays.
Thank you for inviting me, Anita. Glad to be here.
So let's get started with just a little cheer career spotlight so we can let everyone know when you cheered and who you cheered for.
So I cheered for the Carolina Panthers. I was a Top Cat for a couple of years. My rookie year was in the year 2000, which was fun. And I cheered for 2 seasons before I moved back to Southern California.
Very nice. So we cheered about the same era because I cheered the first year in 1999. So
Definitely. Yeah.
pretty cool. And then we always ask everyone on our podcast and really everyone we encounter in the cheer world, if you had to pick one, and you may have many, but if you had to pick one favorite rewind, as we like to call it, or your favorite memory when you cheered, what would that be?
I mean, nothing really compares to when you're a rookie, right? And you sort of make the team the first week. And I remember having the retreat or like the sleepover at the stadium and the tour, which was very cool. But I always really liked, other than that, or like your first time in player tunnel. Really, I love just kind of the things where we would all come together and. As a line, I remember we would do Halloween skits every year, and it would be a surprise what the theme was and they would come in costume. We would do that instead of practice one night, which I thought was so fun to see all the things the girls came up with. And the other thing we did that I don't know if traditionally every team does this or even if they do this now, but every year they gave us one weekend off during the season and we were able to go to one of the away games as a team and we were hosted by that team cheerleader, the team's cheerleaders. So my first year it was Atlanta Falcons. We met up with those cheerleaders. The second year it was Miami Dolphins. So we would travel together. They would kind of take us around town. They would host us in a way and tell us where to go. And then we would go to the game together as a team, which I thought was really fun to see how other teams were doing things and meet the girls. That was always a really great memory of mine.
That is so cool. I've never heard that. I would love
Yeah.
to have that opportunity, and I think that's so fun because every cheer squad is a little bit different,
Yep.
but that would be amazing. And you'd get to meet so many people. So when we go to our alumni reunions, that you'd recognize
Exactly.
those.
Exactly. Plus, we got a weekend off, which was, of course, like a novelty, right? When you're in season, it was like everybody would try and go because it was like we got to get out of town and do something fun.
That's really cool. I think they
Yeah,
should bring that back if they're not doing it, and all the teams should have a little,
I agree. I agree.
Um, and is there one thing that you can say had the greatest impact on you after you stopped cheering? What did cheerleading actually do? How did it impact the rest of your life as or career?
Well, for one, for my career, I didn't start off doing this. I started off in corporate, but and worked for some of the big banks and was a college recruiter. But then I parlayed into owning a dance company. So, I mean, the main thing it did was I think it gave me that credibility from the jump to say, "Hey, this is my background." And but I think on a broader level, it sounds a little cliche, but I mean, I think just the teamwork, just being able to take a group of people, which I tell my kids all the time. I mean, life is really you have to get along with different people and you have to adjust. I mean, the majority of people that go to work every day, you're thrown into an environment where many times, I mean, these aren't people that you would be hanging out with afterwards. There's different ages, different backgrounds. Not to say that that's how the team was. We all had a commonality, but essentially you're taking a bunch of people that you didn't know before most likely and putting them into a room for a common goal and to have to work together just in whether it was choreography, whether it was presenting yourself in a certain way in appearances, or if you were interacting with different corporate sponsors or anything like that. I think just the idea of being able to on the fly meeting somebody, having that professional side of you being able to come together and do and get to that common goal, to me is something that I think I even try and instill in my staff because they're young. They're usually college, master's level dance students, and they work for me part time. And part of it is I tell them, like, here are some of the things that, yes, we're going to train you for this, but this is going to get you further in life when you can talk to these parents on a professional level, but then you can come down to the level of the kids, or then you can talk to the city managers that you're working with. Like, you have to be able to have that front where you can talk to different people and be able to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve and still get the job done, right? If that makes any sense.
No, that's an excellent point, and I think you're spot on with that.
Hmm.
So let's get to the real reason we're here. I want to hear about your cause. So tell us about the wonderful organization that you started.
So the Infinite Smile Project actually didn't start as a nonprofit. What happened was so my only kids are twins. They're twin girls. And at about 6 months old, my daughter got sick, and we found out that she had like just a small hole in her heart, which at the time wasn't an issue. But they said what she has is when you hear that maybe somebody's running track between, like, in high school, right? Like maybe 14 to 18, or they're on the field and then they just die and you don't know why. And it's usually because of this undiagnosed issue. So we felt very lucky that we found out she had it. But then when we went in to get it fixed, it turned out the hole had gotten a lot bigger. And so she needed to have open heart surgery. So it went from kind of an in and out day where they put a plug in it to now she's got to be in the hospital for a while. And there's a very long recovery for that. And we had to wait until she was big enough. So we had to wait until she was age 3. So when that happened and she was in the hospital, I mean, she was slightly old enough to remember, to kind of know what's going on. So we spent a lot of time at Children's Hospital Orange County and then a long time in recovery. And of course, when it's something like that, your community and people will come and they'll bring gifts to the child, or they'll do certain things for you. And her twins sort of noticed that that was going on. Like it made sense to them. And so what I noticed was, as she got better, she wanted to do kind and nice things for other people. Like that was just sort of like, well, somebody brought this for me or someone did this for me. Like I enjoyed that. Like she had that feeling of knowing what it felt like to receive it. So as a child, she automatically wanted to emulate that feeling and then sort of repeat it, right? So we started just on our own, like if it was their birthday or my birthday or something fun, would spend a day and would go around and we would take these little wands that were about this big and had stars on them, and we would like decorate them up, and we would maybe go to the post office and bring them like a little like a little gift card or something, or a little card like a thank you, or we would go to the bagel store and would give like a little $5 gift card for a coffee or something for the girl that always would be at the front register. And what we noticed was then every time we went back to those normal places, people would remember them, they would react differently. And I saw the confidence that it gave my children just by doing something that it was really my daughter's idea. It wasn't mine at age 3. And so it just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by this point, I'd had my dance company. So we started implementing some of that in some of our dance classes. And then we started implementing it in our camps. And we created in the camps like this whole part about being kind, right? And that turned into teaching kids that at a very young age, starting at 3, that they can understand that concept of acts of kindness. And it's not just teaching them to be kind. What it does is it builds self-confidence. So as we were doing things, I think it was because of our camps that somebody worked for like the LA Times or the Orange County Register or something like that, and it got out there. They asked if they could do an article on it, and then it just went from there. And people just kept saying, you really need to make this into something. And I'm thinking, I've got a business, I have young kids, I don't have time to put it together. But then people volunteered. Like I had an accountant that said, hey, I'll set this up for you. I had somebody that said, I'm a lawyer, I know how to put this together to make it into a nonprofit. So I had people that just kind of came to me and said, let's make this. And it's just something that my kids enjoyed. And then it just went from there. We connected with a guy in London, which I think I sent you his information, called the Kindness Offensive. And they're huge over there. They got different awards and things in England from the Queen, and worked with all kinds of celebrities. And we don't know how we connected, but we connected. And then we brought what they do, because it was very similar, and brought that branding for the first time over to the US. And then my kids started implementing the same concept it was called the Kindness Offensive, but under us, as a program that kids could start at school as like a little club in elementary school, going up from there. So elementary, junior high, high school. So that's where we're at today.
It's really a cool thing. I mean, when you start teaching kids not only just the confidence and the empathy and kindness at that age, and then they carry it into their adult life, I think we could all use a little bit more of that.
Exactly. And I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was just the fact that it never occurred to me that at such a young age, they can understand that concept. And
Right.
that essentially the bottom line of what the nonprofit was about is like you can take everyday things and it doesn't cost a lot of money, it doesn't take a lot of time, and you can turn it into a learning experience that provides that self-confidence for your kids and sets them up for a lifetime of wanting to give back and wanting to do acts of kindness and understanding what that means to give it and receive it.
Absolutely. And I was looking over your website at all the different ways, if you want to share some of those, how different schools and kids and programs have gotten involved and things they have done to be part of that Infinite Smile project.
Yeah, so the easiest thing that we've done is we've made it so that people can do it anywhere, anytime. So whether they're in preschool or whether they're in middle school or elementary school, you can go online and you can actually download something that's similar to the actual star we would do, like a sheet of paper or something like that, and they can do an act of kindness and put it on the map. But some of the stuff that we've done is we did implement the club, the Kindness Offensive Club, and that was actually fantastic. And we had so much fun with that. And that started to get some momentum. The problem was that we started it in, I think, for the school year of 2019. So then when all the kids had to stay home for that second half of the year and the next year, well, then by that point, my kids were aging out of that school. So, we didn't get as much momentum as we had hoped as we had started just because of that setback. However, now my girls are freshmen. Well, they just finished their freshman year of high school. And one of the things that we're doing is we're taking that same concept and instead of it just being the elementary school, doing it as the high school version. And so we're going to start that same thing, the Kindness Offensive Club. And essentially they'll just do essentially what you do is like as a group, you come together and decide what's a cause that we want to support this month. And then they pick a cause. It can be homelessness, it could be women's shelter, it could be, pets. I mean, anything really. For us, we've even done beach cleanups because we're close to the beach. Mm-hmm. And we make it into a campaign or a challenge. A campaign would be something that's a little bit bigger. Maybe we're doing some sort of a collection, like let's say for the homeless, we're collecting scarves and blankets and jackets and things like that. Whereas a challenge might be something like, like leave a encouraging note for somebody once a week for this whole month, something really small so that anyone can do. And so we will take that, we'll post it on the site. This is where we're updating the site right now that they're in high school, but we would post it on the site. And then that way anyone could take that same challenge or campaign and do it anywhere else in their school. And you can also, there was a kit that we put together when they started the club where it's like, here's what you need to get started. Here's the logos. Here's the things that you can put on, your header. Here's how you hold your meetings. And then that way, in just one lump, they can kind of take the same concept and start it anywhere else they want to with like sort of an instruction packet at their school.
I love it. I love everything about it. And like I said, I think we could all use a little bit more of that, whatever age we are. So,
Definitely.
so how can the listeners be involved? They can set up programming at their schools. Do you take donations? Or are they events that they can help with or volunteer? What are all the ways that you could have someone help?
Well, in terms of donations, we've never really come out and asked for donations. Of course, we've accepted them, but I mean, there's a donation link on our site. The other thing that did well for a while before COVID, it took us a while to get back on track, is people would donate their birthdays. So I think we see some of that now. But a lot of times we did it for the kids, and that was another one that people said, "You're crazy! You can't have a 5-year-old donate their or I think it was their fourth birthday. You can't ask a 4-year-old to donate their presents." And I said, "Oh yes, you can, and this is how you do it." So we did like a party, like we did the party, but yet we had all the presents. We said, "Hey, here are the things that we're going to accept because that's what the hospital would accept or wherever we were donating to." So there is a donate your birthday where instead of bringing gifts, they can donate cash to the cause, and then we turn around and give it to a cause of their choice. And then in terms of what they can do, there's different pages on the site that will say, "Here's the campaign this month. Here's the instructions how to do it. Here's any of the downloads that you'll need to get started on it. Here's exactly where you'd find those resources to be able to do the same thing, whether it's like a charity or something like that, but in your area." So we make it broad enough that you can do the same thing and then kind of give you the instructions on, well, how would we find that sort of charity or how would we find these people that have this need? And then anything you would want to bring to do that. Like if you're bagging up lunches and dropping them off at the homeless shelter. Okay, you want to get the brown paper bags. You want to have the kids decorate the bags in something fun to make it a little bit more interactive. And then, you need a person to lead it, you need a place to do it, and then you need to locate the place to drop it off, coordinate with them. So a step-by-step process in that campaign package.
Very good. Well, I think the whole fact that your children at such a young age actually came up with the idea and you helped them implement it is really, it just speaks volumes about how you've brought them up and raised them. And, I just commend you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Um, Thank you very much for being here and sharing it. We're going to link everything below so everyone get on the website and check it out. It's really an incredible foundation. Um, so go give, go follow, go support because impact never goes out of style.